This is the Chrissy Swan Show.
What a thrill. I was the first fan in this country of this man, Matthew Preston.
Yes, you were. Thank you, Chrissy.
Do you remember you came in to the studio in 2008?
I believe, was that Vega?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Who was there? There was you, there was Dicko.
Yep.
There was...
Dave O'Neill.
Dave O'Neill, that's right.
And I loved you then and I love you now.
Oh, I loved you then and I love you still.
And now you've got a book, Matthew. Big Mouth. Why didn't you call it Pompous Windbag?
because you'd already taken that name.
A memoir.
A memoir.
And I reckon Big Mouth is pretty good, you know. I mean, I've made my living out of my mouth, whether stuff coming out of it or stuff going into it. So it seemed like the perfect way of starting.
What was the hardest thing to write? What are people going to be the most interested in? Because you are a very open book. There's not much.
Yeah, but I'm not really.
Know.
You know,
okay.
I know. You know, I'm very open about 30% of my life. I think it's all the surprising stuff. You know, the disasters, the embarrassing stuff. That's easy. We go through that. We do that. I think it's probably when doing the audio book and reading what you've written out loud, the stuff I really struggle with. The hardest thing was probably reading the letter that my mum wrote 2 days after my brother died, age 22. She went down and found him fallen out of bed, and it's this whole thing about the steps of going and then the ambulance coming and them trying to distract her, and then going to this horrid, brutal waiting room which has got no windows and smells of stale cigarettes, and then the nurses just walking with a big file of papers, and on the back of the papers there's a big blue sticker that says refrigerate, and she knew at that point that her son was dead. So that was really hard to read, and it's quite hard still, obviously, to talk about that.
Of course. And how did that impact your relationship with your mother?
Look, I mean, I think it impacted in relationship with the family. I had another friend whose brother was murdered in Turkey, so I'd watched what happened to their family, and the family unit tends to shut down. My mother's approach was brilliant. My mother's approach was, so he died of this thing called SUDEP, which is sudden unexplained death in epilepsy. Kills about 170 young Australians every year. No one knew about it then. No one. So she found other parents whose children had died, and she set up a small charity. And now if you go to Epilepsy Action Australia, you'll find some of the materials that they started writing and putting out 20 years ago now on that site, helping people, because SUDEP is one of those things. If you know what the risks are, you can avoid them and you can halve the chances of death. So we could take those, GPs didn't know about it at that time. Now more GPs know about it. And so it's not something for people with epilepsy to be scared of, because it is something that you can address and you can minimize the risk of.
On a happier note,
it's not all depressing down stuff. But.
On a happier note, I mean, I love that your book is a whole life, which means peaks and troughs, of course. And I loved reading your primary school reports.
How good is it finding your primary school reports? Because, Chrissy Swan, I thought I was a bit of a gun at school.
Yeah.
I thought I was pretty smart.
Yeah.
And
we can tell from these reports.
And that wasn't necessarily the case.
No. I mean, the old adage, give me the man at 7. Give me the boy at 7, I'll give you the man. Matthew has a heart as big as his frame. He is gay, tough and thorough.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about the thorough, but it's nice. But these are the days when reports are written as an expression of your teacher's creativity.
Yeah.
Rather than pressing it's either comment A, B, or C.
Yeah.
They'd actually write things like, my favourite one is the Matthew is not above helping himself to the answers of other boys in tests. The problem is he often picks the wrong boy.
Oh, that is wonderful.
It's freaking gold. So yeah, I'm making bad decisions even age 7.
It wouldn't be surprising to you that I also found my old school reports, and the common thread is talks too much, very disruptive. Yes. Yeah, and is not achieving her full potential.
Well, and but is this not? These are the great things about when you write a memoir with all the good and the bad stuff in there. You realise that other people will come up and say my school reports, and they'll share their stories. And again, same thing about dealing with death in a family. We're all going to go through that.
Yes.
So talking about that is cathartic for me, but also hopefully it's an ascend again, discussing family scandals, stuff that you, as a family, you keep really quiet. It's kind of nice to shine light on it because other people then come up and you say, well, this happened to me.
That's
and
right.
I've never talked about it. And you get this the whole time. People will stop you in the street and say, you talked about that. Can I tell you this happened with my mother or my brother or my father? And there's a real cathartic sense of shining light on it and opening up that part of your world.
Absolutely. And I think if it's easy
healthy
for you, well, not easy, but if you're able to talk about something that makes one other person go, oh, me too, then that's worth everything.
But we're obsessed by... We're scared of admitting our failures. We're scared of admitting our vulnerabilities, and we're scared of the humiliation that comes with that. But I've discovered that humiliation should be your friend. You should embrace it.
Agree.
You should totally. Let's go
and
there.
For OG MasterChef fans as well, because I know a lot of people listening will want a bit of MasterChef gossip.
Of course.
There's some stuff in there.
You do open up a little bit about that as well.
Absolutely. And I think that's, that was 11 years of my life. And I think writing the book with this 4 years since MasterChef allowed me to have a sense of perspective, and having done MKR and having done Dancing with the Stars and Masked Singer, obviously, and a bit of drama with having done all these other things, MasterChef was this weird beast. Like we normally talent are like talent schmalent, they're kind of we're an inconvenient thing that TV people have to have on their television.
Yes.
If they could get rid of the talent, if they could AI us, how much easier would their life be? And with MasterChef, it was amazing how involved we were, and that gave us a real sense of joy and engagement with the show. And I had an amazing 11 years and left loving it as much as I did. In fact, let's be honest, I loved it more when I left than when I started, for sure.
Well, you and Gary were frosty at the beginning.
Yeah, well, you know what the thing, I'd gone to review Gary's restaurant, and in that way that often would happen with critics back in the day, Sod's Law would say that I got the wobbly table.
Yes,
okay.
Of course.
And so the whole review is about the wobbly table. Way to put some plate down and the table wobbles and the wine spills. And so there was definitely a sense of, critic and two chefs, restaurateurs. There's very much this idea of cobra and mongoose, you're kind of the
of course.
You're spy versus spy,
of course.
And so that was always there. And then actually, in the end, now Gary's one of my best friends, and we're just about to take a tour around Vietnam together.
How
which is
delicious!
So delicious, eating pho.
Out of the three of you, I feel like I'm not alone when I say that when I think of MasterChef, I think of you visually. I don't know. It was just. It was your show.
I'm twice the size of the other two. That is the reason.
You're like a mascot. You're like the Paddle Pop Lion. For Paddle Pop.
Humphrey B. Bear.
Yes.
That's who I am. Who was on the show with Humphrey? Who knows? It's the guy.
And your fashion as well. For me, like the fashion speaks to me.
Of course.
I remember the outfits and the cravat.
And the outfits were one of the great joys. Imagine someone coming in and saying,
"How fun!"
Beginning of the year, what do you want to wear? And you're going, "How about frock coats?
Yes.
Yeah.
How about we go down the route of white jeans? How about liberty? Let's get this lovely liberty floor. Oh, they don't make shirts. How about we just buy like 50 bolts of Liberty fabric and they have shirts made?" And you're going, what is this magical, wonderful place called TV?
Did you ever utter the phrase, "Let's do Willy Wonka meets Brokeback Mountain"? Because I'm fairly sure that there was an outfit that fit that brief.
Undoubtedly there was, along with Man from Del Monte meets Colombian drug lord.
Of course, the iconic looks. Speaking of icons, you are one, obviously, and we fell in love with you when MasterChef first started. We also fell in love with Po Ling Yao.
Oh, I'm so excited.
And she has been announced in one of my favourite television appointments ever as a host next year of MasterChef. What was that like to see the apprentice become the master?
Oh, well, I saw it already with Andy Allen. I was so happy when Andy got that job. And the idea of Po, who's had an amazing career post MasterChef. And again, that old rule, you can come second and still be a beautiful success. Great to see here. But across the board, I mean, Sophia Levin is amazing. And, I follow her. She's a mad, keen eater. And, there's that Smokey in John Christophe Novelli, who is, 93, 94, probably the the most influential chef in the world. The man who bought little squeezy plastic bottles full of bright coloured sauces and then used to do swoops on plates. He's the guy that kind of started all that. So he's going to bring some...
The smear.
No.
The king of the smear? No, different?
This is pre-smear. Oh, my gosh. Don't say smear. Don't say smear to Jean-Christophe Noël. No, really good.
Your book has been released. It is available at all good bookstores and online. Yes. It is big mouth and it's such a juicy read. Thank you so much for coming in, Matt.
An absolute pleasure. Happy birthday.
Oh, yes, my birthday, which reminds me, my sister made this Australian iconic dessert pile of them. Not unlike the Croquembouche, a pile of these jelly cakes. It's an Australian recipe.
A jelly cake is a great thing.
And I'm going to share one with you, Matt.
I'm honoured to get it because let's face it, people think Lamington, but the jelly cake is what the Lamington always wanted to be.
Far superior.
Far superior.
Let's enjoy this.
Textures.
Let's enjoy this in the song.
Now check this out.
The Chrissy Swan Show is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcast.com.au.